it wasn't as exciting and great as I thought it was. So let's get started. We got a big meeting here today because we have, well, first of all, what our purpose is to serve agents, impact lives. You all impact a ton of lives, so the more we can pour into you, the more we can multiply that effect and make this world a better place. That's a beautiful thing. And we all are excited to have Chad Skozachik here this afternoon to show us how he does his CMAs. Thank you. If you can stand up, well, he timed it. He knew,
Yes.
he knew exactly what this slide would come out.
Oh, part of the process.
He's a pilot. He knows timing. He's like that. So we're excited for that. And we're also excited to have Moving Tree Media here today, Mr. Porter, and he's going to do a luncheon learn. So come on up, Luke. Let's hear what you got to say.
Hey everyone, I'm Luke Porter. I'm a video content creator. So I get my clients millions of views on social media for their businesses, including real estate agents. So what I'm going to cover in my lunch and learn after the meeting is the latest changes to social media. Here in 2026, what's different, what's working, what's not working, what you really need to know if you want to reach those potential clients, because there have been some big changes over the last year. So stick around after lunch, grab your food, come on back in here, and we'll get some tactical strategy going for everyone. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Luke. And when Luke was here, when we met, Hoagland, Michelle Hoagland said, "Hey, oh, that's Luke." And they got, so she is a character witness. She says you're quite a character.
Right.
So that works out pretty good. So thank you for being here. Thank you for lunch, sir. And let's give it up for our play of the week.
She just went out, wait. Oh.
All right, we're coming back to that. Hey, Jason, what we're gonna do, oh.
There she is. There she is.
All right, hey. Yeah, I'd like to make note, by the way, that we have someone all the way from Florida here today, all the way from Marshall here today. Let's give it up.
I'm from Lakeville.
All the way from Lakeville. And Mikey, did my name appear in the police report in your paper? Yeah. Please give me a copy of that.
I saw it came all the way to up.
Oh, not that one. I was talking about, that's a different one. Florida man. That's national news. That's the national news. But, so Maria, I mean, what can you say about Maria, but she won play of the week because we have, sometimes our agents need to be fully present for family affairs and situations that come up. And Maria, and that agent said she had, a client reach out and wanted to talk about the market.
Yeah.
And how that property is going on the market and how it's going, because it's been on the market for a little while. And Maria reran comps for the property when she was gone. She reviewed the strategy of the listing strategy, the what do you call it, the staging strategy, and help alleviate that client's concerns and questions. And it was a beautiful thing. So thank you for that. She fosters dogs. She's on the professional standards committee. And your humor and spirit make every space a better place.
Oh. Yeah.
Thank you. Again, there's a common theme. What happens? Anyone can be doing great when things are going great. Who do you have supporting you when things aren't so hot? And we have that in spades here, so very thankful. Jason, we were going to talk about the industry as far as all the stuff and the things are all combining and puzzles and pieces and such like that.
It's a good thing you wrote me into this.
Well, so basically, what I wanted to share is just a perspective, and this is our perspective and my perspective, and I'll tell you about it in a second. But the industry's quietly admitting something, is what I see. And why the search for stability right now is the new disruption in our industry. But before we begin, there's a disclaimer. These thoughts are a combination of my observations and Jason's perspectives, absolutely not the official Keller Williams statement. If Gary suddenly walks in and says, guys, we need to talk, right? Just know that we love you very much. We are taking a few liberties to make it fun, but it just is what it is.
It is what it is. It definitely is what it is.
Oh.
Going forwards, backwards, left, right, up, down. We'll get
So,
there.
I just had to check something quick. So, what has the industry been selling us for the last, I don't know, six years to see COVID, right? This complete independence, right? Less offices, if any. It's selling us expanded capacity without reinforcing the foundation that they're on. More cloud, more cowbell,
Yeah.
and more, if not only, Zoom. So less personal. So does this sound accurate to you? You guys feel that from what you've heard of the industry pushing towards that? And it makes sense. It made sense at the time, especially, right? Now, I want to bring you back to those of you who have loving adults in your life, or just any sort of figure you look up to. I don't know about you, but when I was young, and my parents said, hey, do this, I went and did that. I don't know about you, but that's kind of what it's kind of how it works with me and Olivia right now. She's not my parent, but she says, do this, I kind of do that. And that's the look I wrote. But the whole time they're building independent.
her head no. That's because he says do this and he does not do that.
Oh, okay.
That's where her
Let's be
confusion.
real clear.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, brother.
No, that's true.
So, however, building independence with responsibility is not really, for lack of a better word, the sexy thing to do, right? So we all have that, oh man, oh, you know what moment? My parents were right. Now I've got to go back and try to make up for the lost time of the stuff I didn't do that they said I should have done in the first place. So stuff like save your money, build responsibly, think long-term, stability matters. So at some point, independence meets reality. And speaking of reality stars, there's Mary and Ty, DJ.
Boy.
Lasting freedom is born from responsibility. Jason, what happened here? So pressure reveals what actually works. So we had a consolidation of some other companies. And Jason, what happens when consolidation, you had a great perspective on this when we were doing our blog the other day.
Yeah, I think you all know that there have been a lot of mergers lately. Let's just get right to the point, because it seems like we're dancing around some words here, but there have been a lot of mergers and acquisitions, and I always like to start out by saying you work for a company that has not been involved in that game. And for the longest time, Keller Williams has been the largest real estate company in the world on agent count, sales, and transaction volume. And that may not be true right now, depending on how all the math works out. But I want you to think about this, and this is how I would talk about it with my clients. Look, there are some businesses that are built on Wall Street. Ours was built on Main Street and continues to be. And your house is not going to be up for sale on the New York Stock Exchange. Your house is going to be for sale in Lakeville or Savage or wherever it is you are. And so it matters whether your company is biggest on Main Street, not whether it's biggest on Wall Street. Because at the end of the day, in the boardrooms, all that stuff makes all kinds of difference to people. But the person who's buying your house does not care about that. The person who's buying your house or will buy your house cares about the house and the community and the person representing them and the person representing the sellers. So when we talk about all the stuff that's going on, don't forget that all that doesn't matter to your client in the end. What matters is you and the rapport and the situation and the relationships you've built with them, and then you'll continue to build throughout the transaction. Because no one from New York City is coming here to help out. You can have all that stuff behind you, but here's the real thing. If you're an agent right now, let's flip that to the other side. This is what we know as agents. If you're on the agent side of the business, And I know we have some people in this room who can actually speak to this because they were involved in mergers on the other side where their companies were purchased, right? But if your company is purchased, you don't typically purchase companies who are doing really well. I don't know if you know that, but companies that are doing really well don't typically get bought by other companies because they can't afford to buy you, right? I mean, you have to have a lot of money to buy a company. You have to have a lot more to buy a company that's doing really well. So when an acquisition happens, you're often acquiring a company that's maybe taking a downturn or needs some help or may need some additional funding. And there could be a lot of reasons, but at the end of the day, you have to offer more than they're worth to make the purchase. So if they're doing well, they're worth a lot and it's super hard to acquire. Think about all the acquisitions you can think about over time. You're either buying a startup or you're buying a company that's assets are getting all messed up. And when you make a purchase of a company that's not doing well, and you are doing well enough to make that purchase, even though initially they say everything is gonna stay the same, you can keep your doctor, for example. You can say that, and it makes sense until you realize that you just purchased a company that's not doing well and you need to fix it in order to get back the money that you just spent. And fixing it doesn't mean staying on the same path. It means there's gonna be change. So even though I said there's not gonna be a change, keep your doctor, you're gonna have to change if this is gonna work. And so initially, I want to keep you as a client, as an agent. If you're in a company that gets acquired, they want to keep you. Because that's where the value is, they know that, but they're gonna have to make changes. And my career was long before real estate, and I can't tell you the number of times Verizon bought little tiny companies. Just bought them and gobbled up. And we would come in and we'd say, yep, keep all your stores, keep all your stuff, you can keep colors. And I'd go down there and help them merge and learn some new Verizon stuff. And I'd come back about 6 months later and teach them how to close their store and get out of there. Because they weren't working. It wasn't working. That's why we could buy them. And in order to make it work, we know how to make this work. And the way it works is the way we do it. So if I'm acquiring your real estate company, you can keep your brand for a little while, but I'm gonna close it. Unless the brand itself is really valuable, and then I'm just gonna keep those words up front, but I'm gonna change everything underneath. Right? And if you've ever been at a bank or had a bank account someplace has been merged for a while, it was, hey, yeah, and then all of a sudden, everything is like it is at the other bank. Because that's how mergers work. And whether you're at one of these companies who was just acquired, or you know people who are, when I know none of you were at a company that was just acquired, but if you were there, your thought process, at least initially, is, man, this is okay. This is good money. It's good. It's coming in. But it's gonna change. It has to change. Or otherwise that company's out of business. They didn't acquire you to do poorly. If you all remember way back, some of you really old, like me, Sprint and Nextel were two different companies. And some of you are going, I don't even know who Sprint and Nextel are. But they were a fascinating cell phone company and they don't exist anymore. And then Sprint bought Nextel and they said, well, yeah, we're gonna keep that push to talk thing because it was super fun. And then it went away because it doesn't work on the Sprint network. So we're gonna get rid of that. And then Sprint was so good at being Sprint after buying Nextel and they didn't make Nextel change enough. T-Mobile came along and said, hey, we're just gonna buy Sprint. And we're gonna be the same, and you can keep your Sprint stuff and all your Sprint things. Who's been to a Sprint store recently? My point is that's how big business on Wall Street works. And it's amazing to be a part of a company that is not driven that way, that was built on Main Street, that serves its agents, is built by agents, for agents, in an industry where the agent truly is the star. The agent is the star. It doesn't matter the brand. The brand is useful, but the brand is not what your clients are buying from you. They're buying you. So don't be afraid to sell yourself. Don't be afraid to talk to your peers. Don't be afraid to talk to your clients, and don't think that it doesn't matter, because it does. Things change, but what you're looking for is stability.
Well said, and that's gonna be a great precursor for what we're gonna see. Nice job. Thank you for that. You bet.
I covered it all.
You covered all the spots. For those of you who aren't aware, so Real and Remax, I like to call it Relax. Don't do it. Good song. EXP and Next Home, I don't have anything for them, however, I wish EXP bought a Remax, so you call it X-Lax. It's Encompass plus everything else. However, as you see, and this is, okay, I'm making a lot of jokes about companies and situations that are going on, and we need a healthy industry, so we need we need other teams to be good teams. Don't take this out of context, but you saw it, I think it was 2 weeks ago, on a Monday morning, all of a sudden there was all this panic. And there's always a con in consolidation, meaning they have to convince everybody of the confidence they have in this new arrangement. However, how do you really know? Right within 2 days, I'm seeing all these things. It's like, is it really gonna be that great? I hope so, like for them, right? However, going back to the responsibility thing, y'all don't have to worry about that here. That's ultimately the point. But the thing is, who are they trying to emulate? This is my spin. Who are they trying to emulate in fast? Interesting timing. I don't know if you saw this. This is their ticker for the stock exchange. They changed it to agent. And built by agents for agents. Have we heard that before? That's EXP. That's their new branding. Okay. But why now? Why are they trying to be more like parent, so to speak, right now? Well, that's why. You didn't see this happening here, right? Everyone was making hay. So if you have cracks in your foundation and everything's going great, it doesn't expose very much, does it? But okay, we can handle 1 year and another year. Everything's getting exposed. Sorry, you're like exposed. Thank you. And so now you're seeing all this rush to be stable. Easy markets hide weak foundations, tough markets reveal them. Right? So the merger tells a story, there's survival, there's debt dump. I think Remax was over $300 million in the debt dump that they needed. It's more than that. Was it 500? More than that. Well, the acquisition was 800, but the debt dump was, yeah. Cost reduction, stabilization. But we need to keep flying here. So the industry's admission that ability means nothing without stability. Loud doesn't equal lasting, noise fades, foundations don't. Fast growth equals a strong foundation. Scale without structure is fragile. And agents wind up carrying the uncertainty. There's enough uncertainty in this world, isn't there? Especially in our industry. We don't need any more of that. You don't need any more of that. We won't let you do that. We won't put that on you. When platforms falter, agents pay the price. So KW hasn't had to rediscover its identity. It's built for market shifts. Back here is when KW went to #1. Why? Because they stuck to the principles that are consistent with stability and growth. Thanks to Gary. So strong foundations age well in a shifted market. Hype gets tested, yet stability wins. So I'm grateful that we're all able to say here that with what Gary has stuck with and not wavered from is as stable as it gets. So there's one last thing though about this. They're even changing their logos to match Gary. This is for the next group that comes along. So we're saving space. So have compassion, really seek to learn from your fellow agents, what they're experiencing. Again, we're not making light of or kicking anyone when they're down. It's just wanted you to make sure that you understand how important it is what Gary's built here and the people who you're surrounded with. You don't have to worry about that. Just go sell homes. Let's bring up Patty.
Hello. Can't wait to look like that again. Okay, we have Red Day tomorrow. It's a Red Day. Thank you, Jamie. It is not too late to sign up. We typically on average have about 50 signups. As of right now, I think we have 25 or 6. So, this is a big day for KW. We shut down, we were back into the communities that we already serve. So we would love it if you could please sign up and help give back. Again, we are partnering with CAP agency. If you sign up, when you sign up, we will give you all of the details, assign you to a group. And then we plan to see all of you at 4 o'clock at Charlie's for happy hour. So please, I know all of you are rushing to get your phones out to scan that QR code, so go for it. It's also on the QR code on your face. We have the bus tour lunch and learn for Brandel Anderson, which is one of our preferred vendors. This is happening on May 27th from noon to 3. Feel free to scan that QR code as well and get signed up for that. And then license renewal season is upon us. You probably have gotten reminders and things from Shop and all of that. Please make sure that you are getting your CEs done. We're pushing the first round of renewals on the 15th. Jimly is. So if your license is ready to be renewed, meaning you have all of the CE requirements fulfilled, we will push your license through if you're in a renewal year on the 15th, and then we'll do it a few more times throughout May. So if your license gets pushed through in May, it will show up on your June invoice for that $70-ish renewal fee. If it gets pushed through in June, it will show up on your July invoice. So don't be surprised by that additional fee. As a reminder, if it is not your renewal year, you still need 15 hours of CE. We double checked with the DOC yesterday. Fair Housing and Agency are not required if you're not in your renewal year, but they are required every 2 years. So make sure you have that total amount of 15 to include the required module that is required every year. If you have questions on anything CE, you can feel free to reach out to me or Jimly. We also have free CE that you can find if you have BrokerBot, which all of you should have. And if you don't, you can scan the QR code and it's the first thing at the top to get signed up, make your account. You can type in, how do I get free CE? And an entire layout will come up with how you do it, where you get it, how you set up your account, everything that you need to know. If you have any questions regarding the free CE, you can also reach out to me as well. But yeah, that's coming up. Yes.
Question, Toddy, has everyone in the office completed their seat check?
No.
Oh, they have.
Nope.
Okay.
June 29th.
Okay. And although Toddy did not comply with our request of having a due date during CE renewal times, please do what you can to get it done prior to June and baby time so that it makes her and Jim Lee's and everyone else's life at the market center. Maybe for baby number 3, we can work on that schedule a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, let me get done with number 2.
Yeah. I will say it can take up to 2 weeks, and it is very common for it to take up to 2 weeks for your CE to report. So those of you that do wait until the 29th, I cannot guarantee that it is going to post this time. So we will not be pushing your license through if it is not reflecting. So if you're like, hey, I took it, well, I'm really sorry. The other thing with CE, please note that KWPR or any brokerage in general has zero control over the reporting of your CE. So if you have any questions, like I took this course and it's not showing up, I would love to help you, but there's nothing that we can do. You have to call the provider. So if you took it at the CE shop, Minnesota Realty, wherever it is, you have to call the provider for that course and let them know that it's not reporting, and they will get it to the DOC. So thank you all for your certificates. That's wonderful. But I can't do anything. So cheers.
Well, let's welcome up Ben and the gang, and we'll do some Kahootin.
I like this, I hear this. Alright, if you guys wanna grab phones out. I just like to caboose, so we're just gonna keep doing it, cause I love doing it so much. Grab your phones, we'll get the scan up and running. You all know the drill, if you've never done this before. You get your phones out, get the camera function going, scan the QR code, we can get you into our quiz, speed and accuracy, but emphasis on the accuracy, okay? I'll do my best to read them out as well. Really quick, as you guys are scanning in, has anyone run into a condo recently? Where they've been either the listing agent or the buyer's agent, and there's all these changes in the condo world, right? How's everyone doing with getting answers to whether that property is mortgable or not mortgable? If it meets FHA or doesn't meet FHA, if it meets VA or doesn't meet VA, it looks like Chad has a story for that. I'd love an input.
I wouldn't know, cause I don't do any of it.
I love that, okay, perfect. So, if anyone's run into that, where you're on the buy side and you've got a client, and where we run into this is like if we have a client that is, hey, I've got to be out of my rental by this day. So we need to know. And these condo questionnaires are coming back 2.5 weeks later. Sometimes there's problems, sometimes there's issues with the warrantability. I want to give everyone just a really quick tip on something that you can do. It's not in any of the guidelines or any of the handbooks, but what I would highly recommend is pulling up the previous 12-month history on that project, okay? So like in the unit, there have been sales in the last 12 months. One kind of red flag is if there have been, let's say it's a project with like 35, 40 plus units, and there's been 0 to 2 sales in that project. That's kind of a red flag, like, that's interesting. Maybe it's just like the greatest condo project of all time, and people won't move. Generally speaking, there's usually an issue with that, and then the next thing I do is look at, have there been any canceled or expired listings? There have been a lot of them. It might behoove you as either the buyer's agent or someone about ready to pick up the listing to call those previous agents and say, hey, I'm just curious what happened here. Oh, we're not warrantable. We went through the process, we accepted an offer. It isn't warrantable. We financing fell through. If that happens, that's usually obviously an indication that they're not approved with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA. There's a site for government loans like FHA, if it tells you if it's approved or not, that tells us instantly. But with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, we have to kind of go through that questionnaire process. So if you want to get in front of that, I highly recommend. That's something I tell to agents all the time if we're wondering about the viability of that project. Okay, that's your fun little snippet. And now Kahoot, which has absolutely nothing to do with condos. Now that I got you thinking that way. Alright, let's. And go. Okay. First question. Accuracy and speed, remember. I believe the theme is escrows today. Nope. Yes, which loan programs may allow gift funds? The FHA, conventional, VA, or all of the above? FHA, conventional, VA, or all of the above?
I don't see Santa on it at all. Just a.
Yeah.
It is all the above. Thank you. So I want to clarify this. So there are ways in which to do gift funds. It isn't just mom gave me an envelope of 10,000 in cash. I'm bringing it to the bank tomorrow. If you hear that, tell your client to stop what they're doing and turn their car around. Okay, you don't want that. And there's also ways, like if you are going to use a gift fund, what we have all the time is clients saying, oh, I'm just gonna, I'm short like $4,000, mom just deposited money in my account. Does anyone know, bonus question, if mom or dad deposits money into your bank account, and then I'm using that bank account for closing costs, what do I have to get? Does anyone know?
Gift letter.
You always have to get a gift letter.
Verification, mom and dad's money.
Think about that. Okay, next. What document is commonly required using gift funds? Not gonna leave it Yeah.
Hold on.
I remember this was not on the next. But here's the thing, going back to that question, does anyone know what's needed outside of the gift letter? If there's a deposit going into an account,
Paper trail of where it came
from who?
from the seller or whoever's giving it, the giver.
From the donor.
Yeah.
I will not tell you the number of times I've had mom or dad call me, ripping my head off, saying, I am not giving you a bank statement. That's none of your business. It's like, it is now, because the money went into an account that I have to source. And just remember, I'm not the one asking for this. I would love to close that loan without the bank statement. I'd love to close that loan without sourcing where that money came from within that account. So there's ways to get around that. That's why we use our preferred title partners to help us with that, so that funds can make it directly to the loan without us having to go through all that additional source. Which of the following is true about gift funds? Gift funds can only be used on FHA loans. Buyers must pay back gift funds after closing. Gift funds can often be used for down payment and closing costs. Gift funds are only allowed for parents. What is true of those four?
What if I win a meat raffle?
Honestly, man, that's a good question. Probably allow it, but weird. If it's that much, we'll probably source it. You can use gift funds for down payment and for closing costs. And this is actually a really good question. Buyers must pay back the gift funds after closing. There's a lot of people that set up those arrangements with mom and dad. I do not want to know about it. Okay, and the other thing is that we don't really define that as a loan. If it's a loan, we can still use it. If I've had I'll never forget this. We had a loan that was closing. Mom and dad had given money, but there was an expected repayment plan. Mom and dad drew up an actual loan repayment plan. They got it notarized. They filed it. It was all legit. There was interest involved. We can use that. It's not a gift. It's a loan. We have to hold that against the ratio. That payment almost did a loan. So we had to work through it. We got through it, but it's just like, there are going to be those arrangements, and sometimes we know that they're gonna pay it back. We just, yeah, can't be expected. Like, true or false, the buyer should move large gift deposits into their account without talking to their lender first. Pretty easy. Expect this to be done very quickly. Yep, false. Shame on you, whoever did this one. Just kidding. We do not want you guys moving large deposits of money in any manner without talking to us, including the raffles.
What's large? It's a large, 500, 1,000, 10,000?
I mean, hold on, let's do this one. Who can typically provide gift funds for a home purchase? Only parents, eligible family members of approved sources depending on the loan program, real estate agent involved in the transaction, any friend or coworker. It's true. Eligible family members of approved sources depending on the loan program. Now, for those that get green, there's a little bit of a caveat there that there is some loosening on how you can do the friend piece. I want to be honest with you guys, the friends depositing of friend money is still very complicated because you have to verify, and I'll let you guys use your imagination on this, we have to establish a long-standing relationship with that friend donor. Which is weird, by the way, like a high school yearbook. I mean, I'm not kidding you. Or they were in my wedding, I've known them for 7 years, or it's just, it gets very messy. So we want it to be eligible family members. Sources is generally speaking, can go the friend route, but man, it gets really wonky. Ronnie, to your question, a large deposit, I would typically tell people like anything greater than 10 to 15% of their normal gross income on a monthly basis. So if they're making $5,000, like $1,000 would be considered a large gift. And depending on some loans require every deposit that's not payroll to be sourced. So if it's like $50 in Venmo, want a letter of explanation explaining what that is. So yeah. All right, results. CJ. Alright. Through, alright, let's go. Number one. There's that, hey. No worries. Anyways, thank you guys, I love doing these are like my favorite, I'll try not to ruin the next. Getting it myself, thank you all.
Thanks again.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Keith.
Thank you.
Kate. And thank you for hosting tomorrow, post Red
Yeah.
Day. Thank you so very much. Charlie's. Thank you very much. Before we're gonna get Chad up here, and I just wanna say congrats to Scotty. Congrats on being a grandma soon. I already asked her how that happened, but we won't. So, let's welcome up Chad Skozacek for his deal. Man, you're gonna plug in. What is this right here? Yeah. How's it going, everyone? Good. Right, come on. How's it going? All right, well, CMA. Right, so I think today we're just gonna make this about you guys, right? So I talked to Jim and said, hey, you know, what can we do to make the best use of your time? So we've got 21 minutes. I want to raise a hand if you guys don't mind, you know, if anybody's been in my classes, a little proactive, right? So what would make the best use of your time? What can we do to really help you all to get the most of this time? So who wants to raise their hand? What do you want to learn in this discussion? What can I share? What topics?
I'm having a lot of people who are selling like family homes, you know, like after 40, 50 years.
40, 50 years.
And it's just kind of like, you know, like there's obviously updates, some don't, and I just find those to be a little more tricky.
Okay. Yeah, is it tricky to comp out or tricky to help the
So I
sell?
think it's more tricky to comp out just
Yeah.
because, you know, I mean, some of them, like you can have some that have more updates, but you know, others that are just meticulously cared for, and it's just kind of trying to, you know, navigate how to price those kind of
Okay.
crazy.
Anybody else? Keep trying to find me. Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Anybody, you can laugh at that, by the way. Few more. That's my life in risk. Okay. Going up MLS. Anybody else? Raise their hands. Bam.
Chad, I'd like to know what you do when you have a property that there aren't any nearby comps or little acreages down in our area.
Nearby comp, perfect. I had one in mind, by the way, so I love that. So no nearby comps, acreage type properties, I'll say out the sticks.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Here we are.
You have any others? I'm looking great.
Yeah, I have a built home that on the list, but it's around new construction, but it's not construction.
Custom built, new construction, but it's not. new construction.
Well, it's around
Say my.
like where it's, you know, it's a lot of new construction in the area,
Okay,
but it's not new.
it's a refresh.
That's
Thank you. Custom built, one more time, yes, custom built slowly.
Custom built homes, let's just do that.
Okay, custom built, but it's around new construction. Is it, how old is it approximately?
And 2000, so.
2000.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a 25-ish year home in an area of new construction.
Yep.
All right, so there's a lot of questions we're gonna go through this, lot of good intel here. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to help with all of that. So, Casey, I might have you come up here. Gentlemen, welcome, Casey. Close that window. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. All right, so, okay, anybody else? All right. Who's that? Oh, of course you did that. That's what you asked for. Thank you, Casey. All right, so we're gonna touch on all this. I think a 40-year-old home, how do you comp out, you know, for older people, maybe they've got older, they need for updates. There's a lot to that question. I love that. There's some psychology involved on that one more than anything, right? Okay, what are we gonna do with nearby comps, no acreages? I love that. No comps near my acreage, small acreage in the area. And then a custom build.
We've got a 25-year-old home, but it's surrounded by 2026s. What do we do there? All right, so we're gonna touch on all that. I'm gonna take a step back before forward. My name's Chad Spazachik. We've got a small team over there. We got Piper and Casey, amazing people. Grateful to be in this office. Okay, so all of you, leadership, everybody, this is awesome. I love the discussion you guys had earlier, Jason, on, I thought they had my the power of one more, right? Just one more thing, keep moving forward, stay stable, rock solid foundation. I mean, that's me. My DNA is screaming, yeah. No, Piper's smiling because they have a foundation guy, but yeah, that's right. So not saying that KW's, you know, the only option. There's a lot of options out there, but I love this brokerage for exactly those reasons. So that's, I'll give my little plug. Okay, come back here. Step back before forward, foundation, right? So when meeting with the customer, my number one thing is the pre-qualification. So you did all your work, you took your classes, you went and did your lead generation, you got a buyer or a listing. In this case, we're gonna do listings. Now you got them on the phone, right? Or you got them in person. Absolutely, at all times, have one of these digitally in your phone, right? A pre-qualification form. Who uses these when they pre-qualify their sellers before meeting with them? I got 3 people raising hands. Okay, you're all invited to have one of these. Do this at a high level. Identify whether or not you are going on the appointment. Piper's brand new license. I'm going to tell her to go on every one, as long as they're not crazy. And I think she can safely go into their house and come back out alive. She's going to go on every appointment she can get. But when you get enough experience, you're going to choose which ones to go on and choose which ones not to. And on the back of our sheet, we actually write down the red light, green light. What red lights and green lights have you identified? Decide whether you're gonna go. Also their profiles, their disc profile, who are they? How do you make them feel comfortable? How do you emulate, replicate them? These are all the psychological things I think are massively important. Real estate knows nothing about. Unless you take high-level coaching and have a therapist and go to therapy classes and have other people that communicate with you, literally, you won't learn this stuff. You have to learn this. It's huge. And then you can help people at the highest levels. I feel, not think, notice I'll use the word feel. I feel, my heart says I can help this individual because I heard you. I asked you some high level questions, my 5-star experience, what does that look like? To make sure, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, that at the closing table in 3 months from now, you're going to say, Chad, you're right. You weren't perfect, but you did an amazing job. And I will hire you all day long tomorrow. And I'm going to give you 2 referrals right now. What would it take to earn that opportunity? That's my script. And then I get them to give me that information. I focus all the time on those 3-4 tidbits. It's usually just a couple, and it's not money, guys. And it's not, you know, it has nothing to do with cash. Everybody, you're almost getting money. No, that's like number 89 or less in my experience. And I'm teasing. Sometimes it's actually a second or third, but rarely is it number 1. You identify it, you make sure it's a good qualified candidate. I spent a ton of time in the foundation building of understanding about the property on that call. To develop a sense of rapport, to understand, to do my due diligence. The pilot in me, the engineer, the builder guy in me says you have to have a checklist to fly an airplane. Yep, you got to have a blueprint to build a home. I've never done without a blueprint. You have to have a plan as a real estate individual before you go on your appointment. So do that at a high level. If you want to copy this, let me know. We'll talk on that. Okay, now you got the appointment. Now you're running out. You're going to go take a look at the property. You're going to make a great bold. Who's been a bold? Raise your hands. The bold class. I've got a bold listing presentation. I still follow it. It's corny and it's real, but it works. If I don't have anything better to use, Diana Picostas, you know, to a degree, I make adjustments, but I really focus on what's important there. Okay. Then Casey helps me prepare this packet. We either deliver in paper or definitely digitally, if possible, both. And now AI generated plan based upon their situation. So I'm happy to share this with anybody. Casey has copies we can send and just take a look at what AI can do to help you and, you know, keep yourself in front of everybody else. So I'm kind of talking about listing presentations. Now we're going to dive into the actual market analysis. All right, so we've got all the fun stuff delivered, the conversation's been had. Now I'm back to the office and I'm putting the market analysis together before going out and meeting with them. So I actually haven't been in the house. Anybody else want to add or subtract to that so far? What else did I miss? Before we actually jump in and do the market, what else do we do? Anybody else? What a drive-by. They have a, you know, showed up to a listing appointment. Oh my gosh, in the neighbor's yard was more dandelions and crap and cars without wheels on them. That you're like, are you kidding me? We're screwed. my whole market analysis, right? Do the drive-by, do a GIS imagery, use your technology. Anybody else think of anything else before you do your market? Help you validate your market. Who does market analysis before meeting with the seller? Who does it one step? I call that a one step, where you're gonna do it all in one boot. 10, 12 hands. Who does a two-step work? Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm gonna go meet with you, take a look at your property first, then go back to the office, run numbers, and come back. Who does a two-step? Okay, got some hands in the air, right? There's no right or wrong answer. If you're doing is Bryce here? Bryce, I did. Discussion this morning. I told Jamie, I said, I wish I had Bryce's life, right? He's got these beautiful two-story, 5.3s. One sandwich, one car like, one medium, one light. I'm like, come on. Wish I could do that. I've got the acreage and then the condo and then the land and. Where's y'all coming from? You guys are crazy. I'm doing all your stuff here. Help me out. So, okay, let's talk about the comping out of a 40-year-old home. Outside of the psychological effect of helping, anytime I take a listing with somebody of 25 years of time in a house or longer, I know number one is the blood, sweat, and tears poured in that property is tenfold what more important than the money they're gonna earn on that sale. In my experience, they don't care. They're doing a life-changing event. They're going into assisted living. The kids, there's 5 of them. There's always a black sheep, and then there's 3 others. And you gotta bring them all in, like a therapy session. That's the most important thing in my experience in that situation. And then the black sheep's gonna call the shots, and the other 3 are like, whatever she wants or he wants. And you're gonna be like, okay, so now you listen to them all, you all make them feel included. And now you go through the therapy session to let them know it's okay. And I hate to be their calloused agent, but I'm about to burst your bubble. It's no longer your home of 50 years of memories. It's now a property that we're going to sell and go apart. And I'm gonna hurt you when you hear this, or maybe not, hopefully not, but you gotta help them through that. Now let's just take a look at the property itself. Do you have anything in mind you want me to look at? Do you have an address or anything that you can help me with? Does anybody have a property? Should I just pull off?
Well, I have one that's it's in, it's actually in St. Paul.
St. Paul, okay?
Yeah.
But if it's not withheld yet, you don't wanna advertise, I can use one of mine.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't really matter. I mean, let's see. Here, but you could probably use one of yours, cause it's gonna take me forever
Yeah,
to
that's
find
fine.
it.
Let's do this. Can I do a 25-year-old home?
Sure.
Okay, I just went out to Abby. We're gonna go into 1101 Abbey. And what I also do, I asked the question of what else. 659, that's never been on the market, so I'm gonna call Beacon. I love Rice County. Here's one, by the way, we're gonna have a beautiful 1.5 acre of Lonsdale, so back to Pam's question. I think we're gonna go over 23, nope, that's Elgin, is that the right one? Is that Lonsdale?
No,
That's fair, well, not, don't look at that one. We're
That's.
gonna look at. No, that's that one.
So it's not 23.
All right, we're gonna pull it up in a second, but let's go take a look at 1101 Abbey. And we're gonna pull that one on MLS. 26 years, I was actually not part of the building process. A lot of the homes in Northfield, I was part of in the early 2000s. That one, isn't super dated, but it was dated enough. I think that it's worth us to take a look at. So for anybody that does work at Bryce County, love the county. It's a state, let's take a look at this. So. What are we doing on time? We have 10-15 minutes.
10 minutes.
All right, so what I'm gonna do on a property that is dated, it's a single owner. They lived there for 26 years. They love the home. It has original paint, flooring, carpet. I love in the CMS approach, I love to get our contractors in there. First, a staging consultation, because I'm not a professional, get the input, the data. And then I bring in contractors and we paint it, we put new flooring in and the things that maximize ROI. Very few people like to, one, agents don't like to do that because that's a lot of headache. And two, I'm back to, being a crew manager, like I was for Lens Versace Construction. Now I'm organizing crews and I've got Casey doing this and I've got this person, and that's the CMS experience. So that's kind of what we do. We're very different, I think, from most agents. So for those that say, okay, let's just comp this up without having to do the updates, because is that the question? The sellers didn't want to do the updates?
I mean, somewhat, yes, but not necessarily. I guess it's
Okay.
more like you have a home, I mean, older homes like that, and some are just so well taken care
Yeah.
of. It's like incredible, even if some things are original.
Okay,
And then you have some that, like people have decided to like, paint their own wood white and like whatever. And so people, or some that have remodeled, say,
Okay.
and they're decent remodels. So like, how do you really, you know what I mean? Like some people think, oh, the whites, like an update or be, and I just think like, oh my gosh, leave the oak alone if you're not gonna paint it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think
it's just kind of more of the, how do you really, if something that's been completely remodeled versus, get 100% of that back, obviously,
Okay.
but versus something that's just really well cared for, what's the gap in between? You know what I mean?
I think I understand. Boy, did I go deep. Surface level answer to that question, if I'm looking at a 25 or 50-year-old house or 100-turn-of-the-century 100-year-old home that has original cabinetry, it has original St. Paul, it's gonna have some 1920s, whatever, right? And it's gonna have some absolutely beautiful stained glass in some areas, and then the next house next door, same house, same age, different builders or whatever, but the house has now been painted white and it has new paint, new flooring. How do you cross compare those two properties? I would need to actually do a class to be able to go deeper to comp that out. If you're okay with it, I'm just gonna take this example and let's just take a look at what we can pull up quickly. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to 659 schools. I'm gonna look at Northfield because that's kind of my stomping grounds area. And we're gonna look at homes that are 25 years of age. Some are gonna have the original 25-year-old finishes and some are gonna have some updates. So let's just take a quick look at the comps. So what I'm doing now, I also, by the way, look at the county, Realist, Zillow. What else do we look at, Casey?
Fast stats,
Fast Stats, thank you.
RPR.
RPR. And I print most of that out and I put it in the market analysis, the little blue thing. On the front desk has these nice little blue folders. I'll do my market analysis plus all these and I'll glue them in there. Plus Casey puts together our marketing plan, our AI generated marketing plan that's specific to not all properties, but the ones that are unique. We're gonna put that in there. We're gonna talk about what the CMS is gonna do. And I'm happy to share this with you. That all goes in this little document that I put in the market analysis. Along with that is the folder that's gonna have, the listing process on one side and the homework side, the list, utility home information documents for the sellers to fill out, the seller disclosures, et cetera, and then the listing contract. All that is being delivered to their front door, ideally a day or two before, if you can, at the very least, digitally through email. So now let's pull up this house. We're gonna look at all multi-levels in Northfield. We're gonna go age of the property. When I'm gonna go here to year built is I'm gonna say, let's go 1990 plus. And then we'll look at all single families. Y'all know how to do this, right? At this point, we're mostly understanding how to make edits in MLS. I'm gonna look at multi-levels. So what I do is I do splits, 3 levels, because there's a billion of those in Northfield. They're cheap down in Northfield, they build cheap homes. And I was part of that. Okay. So, and I'm gonna look at everything in the last 6 months. The default's 180 days, okay? So there we go. Now let's just, the other thing I'm gonna do is look at square footage. I'm gonna go 1 minus on acreage, because I'm not looking at acreage properties. There's a lot of acreage in the perimeter. And then I'm gonna look at total finished square footage. I don't want any unicorns, so let's go 3,000 minus. And then we're gonna pull up, I don't know why that's
Chad?
district, thank you.
Can you put in the school district?
Thank you, 659 schools. That'll cover Northfield, Dundas, and the surrounding, what's called townships. There are 13 properties.
Do you do foundation size in yours?
Good question, you can. I mean, almost every split in Northfield's 1,400. Literally, give or take 200, but yes, great question. Anybody hear that question? Foundation size, should I go back and adjust that to maybe, like what was Abby? I think Abby was, let's just say what, Casey, about 13, 14 of Maine, 12, 13, 14, 16.
Is for, oh my.
1636 is the total gross, so I wanna say it was actually 900, 700. And then a potential, and then they had another 700, so it's about 2,300-ish altogether. So you can, yes, let's take a look at the individuals, Krista. About 4, I make that, because I only have 13 properties to look at.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna look at one active only in the last 6 months, well, currently. 3 pendants and a bunch of clothes. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna look at each property, say, okay, that's a 99. It has the original cabinetry, but new LVP pouring. You can see the old 25-year-old paint color on there. That was the same color as the 2004 had, and that was my big color. They all had the same paint. 1,124 finished square foot plus another 800 down below. So to Krista's point, we want to make sure we understand what that floor, that space is, right, when we're comping out other properties. And then, yes, so there's one. Let's take a look at the next one. That one's on for 370, we'll call it 380. Here we go. Perfect. Here's a 2021 5-year-old. It's gonna have the new finishes, also a split level. 2,200 square foot, but look at the pendant price on this. 480. There's $100,000 difference between these two. Y'all saw that? So the question is okay, well, why the $100,000 difference? Now, that doesn't mean the other one's gonna sell. Or that this one's gonna sell at that 480, but here we go, 17 days on market, it's probably gonna sell within about 3 to 5% on at the most, I would assume, unless they gave it away. There's your new deck. There's the new finishes on the inside, it's a split, right? There's your hard surface, your LVP, your can lights, your upgraded, whatever they call that new stainless steel that's kind of darker, what is that called, slate? Right, y'all see the two homes, they're the same home, but there's a 20-year difference in the trim. Well, there's $100,000 difference. For me, I'm looking for homes within 3 to 5 years of age of that house with that color. If you can't find ones, you're gonna have to stretch your boundaries out further and you're gonna have to be more selective. I don't wanna comp out any home that has totally different trim levels because we just saw a 20% difference from one house to the next. Any questions on that? It's tough to do sometimes when you don't have a ton of comps. Northfield's a little more difficult than, I don't like Phil. And then Faribault was like, oh, Faribault's actually not bad. Lonsdale, there's like.
The cities are a little tricky too, just because there's there's so many like pocket areas and, there's like some things that old is, frowned upon and some things that old aren't, when it comes to areas like that. So it's, sometimes it's harder to comp in the cities, I feel like.
And you're either gonna have to go back in time and then make adjustments, or you're gonna have to use your, whether it's a gut intuition or whether it's gonna have to spend some time, and we can do another class on this and dive deeper. The answer to your question is I'm literally gonna do whatever I can to find. I'll go back in time and make adjustments for the market to try and get the comps closer to make better decisions.
Okay.
And then I'm still gonna offer the seller option 1, we can make this house, get your checkbook up 50 grand. And then it's
Yeah.
me to comp out, and if you don't wanna do that, join the club.
Yeah,
However, now we're gonna have to take a 20% concession.
it makes sense. Yep,
Does that help a little?
yep, absolutely.
Okay, we'll dive deeper into that if you ever want. Number 2 question was, no comps nearby in acreage. Casey, what's the address of the one in Lonsdale?
11523.
It's all.
11523, okay, I'm gonna plug in for listening. When you come to our open house this week, we're gonna put on the market at 11523.
Everything got
think so.
INGOT.
Thank you. All right, so this property is kind of like Pam's. We're putting this one on
Right.
Friday. It's got 1.5 acres. It's all by its lonesome. It's a brand new construction house. The layout is interesting. We got the staging person in there. We did the fresh warm up of, it's a masculine house. Ryan was on our team with me. He's like, well, this is all masculine. I'm like, that's a good way of putting it. I love this house. But when Rachel showed up, our staging gal, she's like, oh, the lady's gonna like that shower. I'm like, oh, yeah, shoot, goodness, I had Jill here. So our bar pool went from 100% to 15%. We're trying to get it to 30% by more. And I mean that, I know sincerity. It's a beautiful, beautiful property, but that sucker was on the market for 8 months and it went from. Now we're coming in at a good price with a good marketing approach and I think a great warm up of the property to increase bar pool. Pam's question was, if I heard her correctly, how do you do that when there's not a lot of comps like this? Yeah, you gotta go back in time. I go to 7 times. And I'll go 1 to 10 acre properties. This is a 1.6. I'll go further out, I'll go longer, and then I'm gonna get real critical on age here. I'm gonna look at only maybe 2015 and newer.
which is tough to do because, you know, a lot of those little hobby farms are 1948 or 1888.
And they got a $200,000 outbuilding.
Right, yes.
Correct, so, good point, when you have the outbuilding, you're gonna have to do an appraiser list and make the deductions and go, okay, here's the 20-year-old outbuilding that is really worth 50 grand, it would cost 100 grand to build that brand new today, cause then you have to know new construction costs.
Yeah.
And how do I do that? Well, I used to build the things and I'm on the phone with contractors all the time, so I know a 40 by 50 costs bare minimum 100 grand today. I built my own for much less, and it was way nicer, tricked out, but that's in the past. Today is what it is. Now, 100 grand, but you might get concrete, you might get some electrical rough and all that. Then you do your deducts. You say, okay, today it's worth 50 grand based on market. I'm gonna take 50 grand off of that property to make the adjustment. Does that make sense? There's not a time for people in here, but these are the things you're gonna have to do with each and every product, right? You're gonna, and again, we can't take care of all this, and I'm already 2 minutes over in this short class, but just know you're not alone. And we can do another class to make the adjustments, like an appraiser with.
I always have found with unique or older, or if there's something different that you don't have a whole bunch of comps, is I always go back to, I took an appraisal class one time and square footage, number of bedrooms, baths are the first place to start with everything, whether you add to it or subtract from it. And because otherwise, if you think there's gonna be financing, now you look at some properties that might be purchased, you know, we're finding a lot more cash buyers. So if it's a Rambler or something like that, sometimes you don't have to worry about appraisals because they're putting so much money down that the lenders are
Correct.
waiving the appraisals. So,
But you still need to get buyers to look at it, right?
Right.
So you need to know the number when marketing it.
but I always kind of start with square footage
I
bedroom.
love that. Did everybody hear that? Keep it within about, in this case, I looked at the main floor, to Krista's point, main floor's foundation is 1,700. And then there's no loft on this one, it is a Rambler to one level. And 1,500-ish of that basement was finished, about 32 overall. So I looked at most of my homes I comped out were, you know, anywhere from, I'd say 15 to 21. I go about 300 either side of center on the main floor. So 17 plus 300, 17 minus 300.
Yeah.
So you can do that, but that's if I can be picky. If I can't be picky, now I don't limit to that. I look at that, I pay attention, but I don't limit. But I do look at the overall thing. The comps should have a finished basement. If not, because I get a brand new construction across the street, which I have here. Bob McNerney across the street, well, then I have to make an adjustment at, I don't know, $60, maybe 70 a square foot at 1,500, make that adjustment off of this price per square foot level. So this ties into Candace's question. When you're looking at a 2020 in a 2000 build in a 2026 neighborhood, you gotta know what the square footage price per square foot, assuming they're all 2 stories. And then a couple around, yeah, we can make that adjustment later too, already where you're going with this. But if, let's just say for ease in this class, all 2 stories, now you know, okay, they're selling for 325 a square for this builder, or 375 a square foot on a traditional like GIS imagery like shell 2-story today. Now you have to do your deducts for a 25-year-old build that's right next door in the adjacent court. And that's tough. How do you learn what the square footage price is? Well, now you gotta talk to builders. Now you gotta talk to new construction reps. Now you gotta talk to appraisers. You gotta learn a lot to know what the build value is, what it takes to build and sell. And then the adjustment for that home around the corner in the 2000 development. Krista, do you, any questions on that? Corey? How we doing here? We gotta get going, Jamie. Yeah. Corey?
The other thing too is, I don't think a lot of people realize if you go into tools and go into info sparks, how much customization you can do to, without making 50 phone calls to builders to find out what's the average price per square foot on new construction in this zip code for this many bedroom plus. You can go into info sparks and you can do a lot of customization, and it'll pull that. You want to be careful that you're not looking at a 3-year time period in every data point, so you gotta adjust how that looks, but there's a lot of info you can get from that when it comes to any property, but it's super helpful to think through this.
Corey's teaching that class and I'm taking that.
I don't know how you want me to take that class.
Got some great classes coming.
We got a lot of classes. All right, so Candace will talk to you about, or on your question. I'm happy to talk to you outside, but, okay, questions? Did you all learn a ton? Probably not. We went over a lot of information in a short period of time. And guess what? If you're ever confused, join a club. Okay, you're not alone. We're all in this together. I don't like that quote, but it is true. Come talk to another agent. Come learn. Find the Krista, if you need a condo or somebody working with them, you know, an older client. I'm going to Krista every single time. She's a condo person. I'm calling her all the time. Find the agent in this office or outside this office that you know and trust that can help you. Don't have to be afraid to ask questions. This is a unique, moving, fluid game. It's not black and white in my experience. As much as I would like it to be, it's not. Thank you, everyone. Only 7 minutes behind.
Oh. No, we cut into your time too much, so I apologize for that. Not at all. Thank you all so much. We have lunch and learn. So we love our vendors, so hopefully I'll come back in, hear what Luke has to say. And after that, we have connectors, so stay and have some conversations as well. So thank you all very much. Enjoy your day.
It looks like. Yeah. I mean, quick.
Yeah, I'm sure.